This is genuinely absurd, as we had a quote from Toronto Raptors Media Day go completely viral across NBA outlets, as obviously a lot of coaches, a lot of players were asked about the expectations going into the season, and Jakob Poeltl had a particularly wild answer to that question. And given the fact he's been linked in a bunch of trade rumors since last year's trade deadline, and his current status with the team being a veteran player on a squad that is openly rebuilding and reconstructing their roster, this is some people questioning his future with the organization. But he did have some comments beyond the clip that has gone viral that sort of has fans not sure what's going on. So we're going to break down the quote that is currently going viral, what the context is, what Jakob Poeltl had to say about it, and frankly, what this means for the Toronto Raptors organization moving forward into this season. So lots of stuff to break down, lots of stuff to dive into. But before we dive into any of that, folks, again, Raptors basketball is just around the corner. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding this Toronto Raptors team. But folks, we had an absolutely crazy quote. You probably saw it, but I'm going to bring up the sort of visual anyways, because Jakob Poeltl had some wild comments when asked about sort of the expectations of going into the next season.
This has to be like a long-term project. I think we all know, like, we're not going to, like, go at the championship this year, like, but it makes no sense for us to, like, try and, like, win every single game, like, as much as we can and sacrifice development in.
So, again, coming out, Jakob Poeltl essentially saying, we're not trying to win all these games, you know, we're trying to retool, we can't go all out on these, is a pretty sort of, again, just insane thing to bring up, insane thing to discuss, but there was some extra context of what's going on. People are worried now, the Raptors are going to come out here and start tanking, actively losing the games, you know, saying the quiet part out loud, all that type of stuff. Well, Jakob Poeltl, the full context, the full quote we can read kind of here, essentially, for a team to be fun and desirable to play on, it doesn't have to be a championship contender every single year. It's more about the mindset and the focus, the plan when it comes to the future. And our mindset and general energy in the locker room is very positive. So I think these are very key components for me. So where it's like, okay, this is a project that makes sense for me. I think a situation where you're maybe trying to hold on to something that doesn't make sense, or there's a toxic locker room, wouldn't be a good fit. So this situation we have here overall, to me, is a positive one. And that's why I think it makes sense for me to be here. And I think I can help this team out a lot, and the situation can help me in return. So I think it's a win-win situation. So even though Jakob Poeltl kind of discussed how this is a rebuilding squad, this is a rebuilding team, a squad that is, Darko, Rajaković, Masai, Ujiri directly said it. We've retooled. We're in year one of a rebuild right now. Even though Jakob Poeltl understands and kind of said it out loud that the Raptors are going to make decisions, are going to make moves to essentially not necessarily win every single game this season, but to facilitate development. And how it was worded was a little bit concerning with just that context of clip, because it does seem like the Raptors are trying to throw games, but I don't think that was by any stretch of what Jakob Poeltl was trying to say. More so the focus this season, even though they're trying to win games, even though they're trying to get W's, is to develop young guys. It's to really build a roster, construct a team that is going to be able to win championships in the coming seasons. And Jakob Poeltl is a guy that still wants to be here, still wants to be on this team, and probably views this as a situation for himself where he's going to get a lot of playing time, a lot of opportunities to, really blossom and work his skill set. Hopefully now with Scottie Barnes, IQ, different guys can get him the ball in different positions. So I think Jakob Poeltl is specifically happy. So even though this quote is going viral about how the Raptors are losing, Poeltl has said in the past that essentially that he doesn't want to be on like a rebuilding or a tear it down situation. He did sign that contract with us a couple of off seasons ago. So he is, or not this off season, the off season prior. So it is Jakob Poeltl's kind of direction, and I think he'll end up saying, I don't think this means a trade's imminent despite this clip going viral. I also don't think it means that the Toronto Raptors are actively trying to lose a ton of games. As Darko Rajaković said himself during Media Day, that obviously the goal is to compete and win on every single night. That's the goal, but at the same time, we have to understand where we are. We got to understand that the moment of this organization that we're starting a year one of a rebuild, and we have a very young core. We have guys that we believe in, and we have work to do. So every single night, we are going to prepare to go and compete and fight and bring the best we can. But at the same time, because I see the big picture and I understand what the sort of retrying to build, the quote didn't copy and paste correctly, but to build and to win a championship. So we need to get better every single day. So Darko Rajaković is coming out and saying, hey, even though, we do have comments from different players about we might not be winning on every single night, not competing for a championship, which is pretty still crazy to say. We shouldn't be out there in championship status, contention and stuff. Even though, yes, it's unrealistic for Raptors fans, Raptors players to think we're going to win the championship this year, but you don't say that. It's still the goal. Not maybe 10 games in the season you could say that, but, right at the jump, that's pretty, at least he's honest. At least he's a straightforward dude. But Darko Rajaković is coming out and saying, hey, we got to be competitive regardless of what the retooling, rebuilding stuff. And one thing that I did find interesting from Jakob Poeltl, not the quote that's going viral, but the second quote, is how he discussed the locker room, and it's very positive. It's not the sort of bad vibes that we heard from this team, a couple seasons ago with Nick Nurse in there, or Fred VanVleet in there, all of that type of stuff. So it's nice to know the vibes are good. And Jakob Poeltl's still a really good player. 11 points per game, 9 rebounds, 2.5 assists, a really good passer at the big man spot. He's really, really solid defender, at least in terms of positioning. He's still only 29 years old, so it's not like he's over the hill and washed by any stretch of the imagination. So he does make sense as a good fit, but looking at the depth chart and looking at this roster, there are some people running with storylines now about, hey, this team just doesn't make sense in terms of being that good, right? Like, our top sort of line, Scottie Barnes, RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley, Ochai Agbaji they have starting in this, but I doubt it. I think it's going to be Gradey Dick out there in the starting lineup, then obviously Poeltl at center, right? But beyond that, we're pretty thin. Unless a Davion Mitchell can step up, unless a Bruce Brown is healthy and gets back into form, Mobo is ready to play right from day one, there isn't a lot of guys that we can really rely upon to be off the bench and contending. So it doesn't seem like a team that's built depth-wise to be super, super competitive next season. And, the Jakob Poeltl, especially before the cat trade went down, was linked in a ton of trade talks once Mitchell Robinson went down with injury for a potential trade to the New York Knicks. And there's rumblings that picking back up essentially now that even though Cat is there, some people like to have him more as a 4, and Mitchell Robinson can't be relied upon to stay healthy. Again, so some people are throwing out hypothetical mock trades of a Jakob Poeltl for Mitchell Robinson, and then the Raptors get some capital, get some young assets, whatever the heck attached to it to make that deal worthwhile. I personally am not super interested in dealing Jakob Poeltl, again, unless it's a young piece that is really interesting return, a piece that can really come back, or a first, something valuable, something that the Raptors can really use to facilitate and speed up this rebuild, and not throw Jakob Poeltl out like trash and deal him away for absolutely nothing. A couple seconds, I'd rather just eat Jakob Poeltl's contract and let it sort of run. But I don't know, this team is probably going to be too good to be out there in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes if Jakob Poeltl is in the mix, isn't sort of on this roster team. So it is something that Raptors fans should be aware of, because again, 20 games in the season are the schedule is front loaded for the Toronto Raptors. So if we're like 2-18 or something to start off this year, don't be shocked if there's a fire sale incoming for this Toronto Raptors team. But let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section down below. You guys are the best to make us far. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.